Hi everyone, I'm Isabella.
And I'm Carmela, and welcome back to 20s Unleashed. So, during your 20s, you might ask yourself, who do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of person do I want to become? Like, not on a daily basis, mainly, no. But I mean, it's
more on like a long term.
Yeah. But it's kind of a question you kind of ask yourself, I think, because we are going into like this adulthood, very scary adulthood, and you're like, okay, my decisions will define who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then a small like voice comes into my mind and it says, I don't want to be a boring adult.
Okay.
I don't want to. No.
What is a boring adult to you?
That's a good question.
Do you have examples in your head? Like, have you met people and you're like, oh, you're boring. I don't want to become you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
So you have your definition of boring.
I can visualize a few people I know.
Okay.
I think a boring adult is someone who has nothing to say. I mean, it's not on a like conversational level. It's more like a person who is not inspiring.
So you don't look up to them. Like you're not like that's my like go-to reference.
No.
So they're like, yeah, okay.
They're just boring.
Okay.
And you're like, I don't want to be like you. So I'm like, But on the other hand, I love talking with people who are interesting, people who did a lot of stuff in their lives, people who have seen a lot of places or a lot of, I don't know, cultures. I don't know.
Yeah. But do you think that that's not boring just because that's your interest?
Well,
like maybe
I don't know.
Maybe somebody doesn't care about traveling at all.
Okay, maybe.
And
yes.
So those are like,
oh no, okay, let's not. Okay, it's no. The answer is no, because I think people who have specific knowledge are interesting. Yeah. I mean,
like they have like a passion towards something. Like they talk, they inspire you in a sector.
Yeah. For example, okay, it's a bad example because I like wine, but for me, like I
didn't expect this example. Okay.
I don't know why I was thinking about it, but I like wine, drinking wine, and people who has a lot of knowledge in wine, I think it's not boring at all.
Yeah.
Because they know something.
Okay.
But okay, just I am not like a cars lover.
Yeah.
But I'm not like into like cars. But talking with people who love cars,
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah. No.
Even if it's not
your
interest,
passion. Yeah. Okay.
But at least you look at them and you're like, okay.
You can see that when they talk about it, they like.
Yeah, you're not boring. There are like people who you talk with them and you're like, you know stuff.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And you feel kind of.
Yeah.
Do you have your definition of like boring adult?
No, I think it's more that somebody that I like, that they've, at least with the conversations I've had with them, there's never been that one thing that stood out.
Okay.
I've never actually I don't think I've actually really thought like, oh, they are boring, but I know that there's people that I don't look up to, or that like, there's a lot of like, I think that a lot of people you meet, there's always that one thing that reminds you of them.
Okay.
Kind of. And there's some people that just don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that like one thing that sticks out.
Yeah.
They might not be boring. It's just that, I don't know, maybe to like figure that out, you need to go into deeper. Yeah. Like there's also a lot of people that are very like reserved and they just don't share their lives. And then you talk to them and you're like, oh, wait, how have you lived this life? And I didn't know about it,
No, yeah, that's true.
So but I think it's more like, I think what you mean is also you want to become a person that has something to say.
Exactly. Yeah. And everything comes from the fact that the other day, on my first day of school, weeks ago, a guy asked me, what do you do on your free time? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I host a podcast with a friend. And he was like, whoa, what? Like, it's not like the first answer he
expected.
Yeah. So then he started asking me questions and stuff. And I was like, and it made me reflect. I was like, oh, I sound interesting.
Yeah.
It's not it sounds a bit like pick me, but it's not like pick me girl. It's more like
no, it's a hobby of yours.
And then I was like, actually, it's interesting that I have a podcast.
Yeah.
And what if I become a boring adult? Well, no, because I can always say I had a podcast and I have a podcast.
Yeah, but I think throughout your life, you will have many different hobbies that you bring forward. Just a little parentheses on the pick me. Like, I think when you talk about your hobbies and your passions, you can't be a pick me. Like, it depends on how you say it. But I think that you should be proud to talk about your hobbies and your passions and the things that you love.
Yeah.
Like, the pick me would then be bragging.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, if somebody asks you what your hobbies are, it's because they want to know. And it's cool. I think it's cool. Like, if you want to be an inspiring person, you need to openly be able to say what your hobbies are, what your passions are, what you enjoy doing in your free time, because that says a lot about the person that you are.
That's true. But it sounded like bragging a bit. I don't know why,
Yeah, I know, but it shouldn't.
I know.
You should be like, I have a podcast.
Okay, you should, and I should as well, go listen to the I Am Remarkable podcast we did a few months ago.
Yeah, we had an episode
because it was
exactly kind of
about that.
This.
Yeah, I had a difficulty to say it out loud.
Like, I think, now I could be wrong, and maybe like people who are really on social media are going to come for me, but like, I think that a pick me would be if every single opportunity you have, you just throw your podcast in the face of others. You want to be that girl.
Yeah.
But if it's like, but you do have one, you're not going to hide it.
No, that's true. Yeah. But I think it was the first time I felt interesting. Not that I'm not interesting. It's just I grew up in the same place where I was born. So my childhood was like static. Yeah, I have a normal life.
Yeah.
And then yes, I did a lot of stuff like with exchange and moving for uni, and I traveled a lot, so I know a lot of things. But I don't know, like just saying out loud, yes, on my free time I host a podcast, and it was like, oh, that's great, actually.
Yeah. But do you think that like your other hobbies are not as cool?
It's not that, but when someone asks you like, what do you do on your free time? You're not gonna list everything you do, right?
No.
It's just you have to pick one.
Yeah.
And I automatically choose like the most, like the less basic, because everybody reads.
Yeah.
Not
everybody reads. Actually,
everybody says they read.
But there's actually people that like don't. Read.
I'm
not judging, but like it's.
But I will not say that it's one hobby of mine. I do it when I have time, but I usually don't have time, so it's my summer hobby. I will say that. And then I go to the gym, and I like doing sports activities. But I don't know, it sounds, a lot of people, they just say, oh yes, I go to the gym. And you're like, like as everybody,
Yeah.
Everybody does sport.
But like, if you say it in the way that you're really like passionate about it, I think that also makes the difference.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or like you're doing it for like a personal journey or something,
What do you do in your free time?
Yeah, I read. Like, now that we're coming out of summer, podcast. Yeah. When the semester starts, I will start dancing again.
Yeah.
It depends.
No, but
I think I have, there's phases.
Yeah, I agree.
In which hobbies, like I think that now, at least the last semester, most of my free time was dedicated to podcasts.
Yeah.
And so like I think that is like in this phase of my life right now, that is one of my biggest hobbies.
Yeah.
But I think that like it doesn't stop me from like having other hobbies. Like a hobby, like if it's something that you are willing to occupy your free time with, we can even say the fact that we sign up for conferences in our free time.
Yeah, that's true.
It is something that I have always enjoyed doing, and I voluntarily would give up my free time to go to a conference.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of things that then come into your head, but I would never say that as the first thing. Like that would never be my first. The first would always, like now I would say maybe a podcast, or like as well, like.
Is partying a hobby?
I think for how I define hobby for myself, it's something that I learned from as well. Like I remember when I was younger in middle school, I used to say that one of my hobbies was as well going out to like a cafe with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I I don't know if that's a hobby for me now.
Okay.
I love it and I do it, but it's that's more something that I do for like because I need it.
Yeah.
A hobby is like I need that for my mental health, for like because I need my friends, I need to see them, I need to do those activities.
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
But
Yeah.
a hobby for me is something that I'm doing that I don't need to. Like I don't need to have a podcast. I don't need to read a book. I don't need to go to a conference.
Yeah.
I don't need to, I don't know, do some other sort of activity, but like I do it because I like the feeling afterwards. I like the or like the intellectual stimulation or like I like the, you know. So for me now, that's more my definition of hobby.
Okay.
The others are things that I do because I need them. Like they are a part of my routine. And I think that a night out with friends for me personally is more of like a bonding moment with my friends.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
But I mean, that's not everybody's definition of hobby, I guess. But it's, you know.
But do you think that hobbies make people interesting?
Yeah.
That's the point. I mean,
I think so. I think it's important to have a hobby.
I mean, do you think that how they manage their free time makes a difference?
Yeah. I think it's important to have a hobby. I think it's important to have something you're passionate about. And I think it's nice to share those hobbies with like with your friends as well.
Yeah.
Or like with the people around you. You have something to talk about. Because like there's people that really like enjoy, for example, watching series or movies and like that is their passion. And that's great. But like when I don't say that watching a series is my hobby because I do it kind of passively and I do it to like detach.
Okay.
You know, but then so like that's not something that I will like unless I watch something really cool and good. It's not something that I will like talk about maybe, but somebody who's really into it will talk about it and then like really like share the thought process. And for me, that's interesting. That's inspiring because when somebody really has a hobby, they I think you talk about it in a certain way that people look at it differently. Like, oh wow, that's cool.
Okay.
Like,
You know, I understand.
You know, for example, I have this, like, I definitely do not read as much as her, but I have a one friend and every time we see each other, we still like do talk about books.
Okay.
And like, it becomes more fun because it's like something, or like I will get a lot of book recommendations from her. Mm-hmm. And like, I enjoy that because I know that she reads like 10 times more than me.
Okay.
And so like, for me, like getting a book recommendation from her is like worth more almost because I know that that is something that she reads so much that like the book recommendations that she gives are like good. You know? Mm-hmm. So like in that sense, kind of.
Yeah.
Coming back to the conversation on if it's boring, like becoming, a boring adult, I think that it can be related to hobbies, but it can also be related to like you said, past experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
In general.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, like we talked about traveling. For me, it's really interesting when people have cool travel stories.
Yeah.
You know, even from 20 years ago when they were younger.
Yeah.
And like for me, that's interesting to hear. And that's inspiring because maybe they talk so good about a country that I've never been to. And I'm like, wow.
But what if someone's life was super exciting for like until they turned, I don't know, 40, and then they just stuck there? Isn't it boring?
Maybe for them.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted to settle down.
Yeah.
Then, you know, they might tell you about their past because their past was more full of things, but they might still do loads of things in their present, just not mentioning it because they know that as a young person, you want to hear what that adult did as a young person. Yeah. Okay. You know, you don't care about a 40, 50, 60-year-old's hobbies in the same way that you care about hearing them talk about their hobbies when they were in their 20s. Yes. Maybe. Like, I think...
So, like, do stories about our past make us interesting?
I think yes.
Yeah, right.
Because they make you the person that you are.
Yeah, okay. Like, it's part of us.
Yeah. Like, for example, the fact that I've moved around so much makes me who I am. And I will, like, tell that to people, I think, when I'm older. Mm-hmm. Because that was my identity growing up. Like, if they ever were to ask.
Yeah, okay.
You know? And, like, you know, if they like, if somebody ever were to come up to me and be like, oh, like, do you like, are you happy that your life that you grew up in that way? Yeah, because like that made me the person that I am today. And you have so many like fun experiences to talk about in each country or each place or each culture. You know, obviously depends on the question that you're asked.
Yeah. But that's exactly like where my fear of not doing enough comes from. Because I see the 20s like the time frame where you can do the most. And you have to take advantage of like everything life offers to you.
Yeah, but like I agree to a certain extent because like now, for example, we maybe have the time to do a podcast and maybe when we're in our 30s, we won't have that same time.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, you went on an exchange. That's a cool experience. Like when you're working, you can't, it's harder. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's harder to just go 6 months somewhere and then come back to reality.
Yeah.
But I think that you find other things to do. Like, I don't know, but even grandparents, you know, like sometimes they're lonely and you hear people that are, they start like a pottery course or they start like a painting class
I would
or
love
like,
to.
you know, when my parents had us, my grandmas, they took English classes when they were like in their 60s.
Crazy.
You know,
Yeah.
or like late 50s. I don't, yeah. They started taking English classes because they knew that their grandchildren would learn English. And that's like, that's like a hobby. You're doing it because you want to learn something, because you're doing it for your family. You know, like if I hear a 50, 60, 70-year-old that's like taking courses because they want to be able to talk to their grandkids, I'm like, that's really cool.
That's really cool.
So I think that like in each phase of your life, you find hobbies and stuff that are adapt to that phase.
Okay.
Like you have to look for them. You know,
course.
I think that our life will just get busier from here, but I think that if it's something that we retain that's important, we can find those hobbies and passions and fun experiences.
But I think it's necessary. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, I think I will continue to like use my free time on an exciting way.
Yeah.
Or like the most that I can.
Yeah. But it can be a million things. Like, you know, like I cannot wait to get my first apartment to like organize it and like get furniture and stuff. Like that will be my hobby for like a solid however many months it takes for me to set that place up.
Yes.
Or like, you know, maybe you start working, you can afford to go on bigger trips. You really invest like time and effort into those like bigger trips. And like, you know, so I think that with age comes, like, I think that it would always be there. But then it depends on like what you share with the world, if you want your perception to be boring or not.
Oh yeah, that's,
you know, like if you want to inspire others, you need to choose your stories correctly. Yeah, I mean, there probably are like boring people out there that have done nothing.
But
like,
probably there are people who define us as boring.
Yeah, you know, I think so. I mean, there's probably people that are like, oh, why would they do a podcast? Like that's
boring.
Like we literally have friends that don't listen to podcasts in general. Like that is not their source of entertainment. Like they think it's more fun to listen to music, which is like valid. And so I completely agree that there's people that are like, oh, I would never do that. And so I think that it's really relative, you know?
I will try my best not to be boring when
but I understand the fact that like you want to make sure that every step of the way you have something. You know? But like it's the future, so you can't really yet. You know?
Yeah, I know. But I think I'm trying like my best.
I think so, yeah. And I think I also take a lot of inspiration from the people around me.
Yeah.
The people that I have around me now are very like, everybody is like really trying to be the best version of themselves and like pushing their limits in like so many different areas. And so like I get like inspired from people your age, people that are older, anyone. The inspiration obviously comes from something that I think you like as well. You know, somebody who really doesn't listen to podcasts, has no interest, is not going to be inspired to start a podcast from hearing us.
Yes.
We hope that you guys continue to get inspired by the people around you and share your hobbies and passions with the world without being afraid of being a pick-me.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah.
To be proud of what you do and like show people that you're interested and you have something to share as well.
I agree. And we also hope that you guys may feel inspired by us.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. And don't forget to check our YouTube channel.
We hope you guys like this episode and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.